everybody, it's Jayma Malney. Welcome back to another card making video. I'm really excited today to show you lots of ideas for using one die. This is the Sunburst Background Thin Cut, which is new from Close to My Heart's May-June catalog, and I'm going to show you ways to get the most bang for your buck out of this one die today. So let me start by showing you what it looks like in the catalog. So here it is. It is a good price point at $16.95. And take a look next to those leaves. Those are going to be another hot seller. I just love them and I've already had fun creating with them. And here is some artwork in the catalog that is gorgeous, and we are going to create some more fun artwork today. So I hope that you are inspired.
I started out by cutting all of the papers I thought I would use to 4.5 by 5 3/4, just 1/4 of an inch larger on each side than a regular A2 size card because that's how big the die is, except for that holographic paper, which was a scrap, and so there's just the outline and then a couple of the rays that are not going to be usable. I dug through my stash because this is part of the creative design team's Love Your Stash Challenge. This is a series that we started back in February, and I will link to that playlist because we had videos every single day in February with ideas to use your stash. And you guys loved it, and we loved it so much that we decided to keep it going at the beginning of every month. So here are all of those outlines that I cut, and I found it really handy to use these muffin tins to place all of my inside pieces in. It kept them nice and organized. And I had a couple more tins off to the side as well because I cut a lot of different patterns. So like I said, I dug into my stash and I found all of the different yellow patterns for this first card. These are from several older paper packs, plus the yellow holographic paper, which added a fun little something to this card. And I thought that I would start out with a true sunburst looking card with all of these yellows. So I thought I wanted to use that black glitter outline, and later decided that I wanted even more tone on tone, or monochromatic, I guess it would be, look with just all yellow. So I pulled out the darker yellow outline from the die, and I liked the way that that looked. So placing all of these pieces is a little bit tedious, and if you don't like paper piecing, this is probably not the die for you unless you just use the overlay as a true overlay over one piece of paper. But I found it really fun to piece all of these little pieces inside. And here I am going to layer up that overlay 2 times so that it gives it a little bit of extra dimension. So, like I said, I enjoyed the process of the paper piecing. I found it kind of like a puzzle. I love puzzles, and so I explored several different ways to glue everything down, and so I'm going to be showing you those various ways and pointing them out throughout this video. So as I went on, I got a little bit smarter each time as I played, and I found it easiest to put the glue down first and then place all of the pieces in. And so I started doing that on this one, but just wait until the next card and the next one where it just gets a little bit easier. And at the end, I'll show you my favorite way to get the glue on all of the pieces. So I have this very fine tip nozzle, and I thought that I would really like it for these very skinny pieces, but this is not my favorite glue for this project in the end. But you'll see here I'm laying this second layer down of this background die, and it just gives it a little bit of extra dimension and looks really nice. I found it helpful also to turn the card upside down and rub it from the back to make sure everything is glued down. I wanted to keep this very simple, and I thought that this fun Sunny Days Ahead, I think it's called, stamp set would look nice with the sunburst look of this card, and I decided to use the sentiment that says sunny days ahead just to make it super obvious of the theme. So I stamped that in lemon ink which is very similar to the current lemonade. Lemon is a retired color because I just wanted to keep that monochromatic look. And then I even decided to ink around the edges of this stitch circle to make it even more yellow. And then even more yellow, I added some shimmer brush splatters in lemonade around the card. I had a little trouble getting it out, so I was banging it with my bone folder and got lots of yellow shimmery goodness all over that card. And I was sure to wipe it off the holographic pieces because it will not stick or rub into those because they're just kind of plasticky. So I wiped it off those so I wouldn't rub it in anything else later on. I put this little circle piece on some foam and popped that right in the middle. And then I called this done. I thought that that looked very cute. And even though it's pretty simple, it did take some time to inlay all of those dies, but it just really packs a punch with the dimension and the holographic paper and all of those fun starburst shapes. So on to the second card, I thought it would be fun to do a rainbow look. And now here I'm putting my adhesive down on the background first, and I did just lots and lots of tape runner, and then I put my first layer of this background die down. Now I found it a little bit harder to do it this way because you don't have the give of the liquid glue, that little wiggle room time. So once you kind of got it down, it was down, and it was really hard to lift up again because this die is so delicate. So this was not my favorite way of doing it, but it did make it easier and faster to inlay all of these little pieces in the middle. So this is the Blue Skies cardstock. If you remember that from about a year ago, there were lots of pretty rainbow colors with a UV coating on it. And the other side of Close to My Heart's cardstock is a lighter shade of the same color. So I did the darker patterned side of each cardstock in one slot, and then I did the back side, which was a little lighter and plain without a pattern, on the other side, and I thought that that looked really fun. So now for this top layer, I am doing glitter paper, and I really like how this ends up turning out. And I also like how I put the glue on the very outline and the circle on the base of the card, and then on the die cut itself, I did little dots of glue along the rays, and it made it a little easier to hold it when I was putting it down on the card. So this is about finished. I'm going to keep this card pretty simple as well. I'm going to just use some die cut letters to spell hi, and I wanted to make them pop off the page a little bit. So here I put cardstock onto fun foam and just glued them together first, and then I took the H and the I from this alphabet die set, which is one of my favorites, and I ran them together through the die cut machine, and it worked out perfectly, and it looks like little foam alphabets. And I put them down with more liquid adhesive because that's what would work best on the glitter paper. If you use a dry adhesive, it wouldn't stick very well to the glitter paper. These did want to wiggle around a lot, so I had to hold them in place with a block. So you'll see here in just a moment, I'm going to set one of my stamping blocks onto there while it dried, and then here are a couple of versions of that card. Now for the third card, I have these double-sided adhesive sheets that I thought I would try. These are from scrapbook.com. You can get them from several places. This is super, super sticky. I actually had a lot of trouble with it being too sticky and trying to get the die down and get my fingers kept getting stuck. But it was another alternative that did end up working pretty well, but I think it was a little too sticky for me. And again, like I mentioned before, it doesn't have the wiggle room like a liquid glue does, and so I didn't prefer this either, but thought I would just try everything out. Just peeled it all off, and it was sticky across the whole page in no time. It is a really cool idea for certain projects, but just not this one. So I used the just one layer this time of black glitter paper. I do really like the look of the black glitter paper. I think that was probably my favorite look for these cards in the end, but you'll see several other options still coming. So this one I decided to use black and white patterns, and I dug through several paper packs to find all of these black and white patterns and to make sure that they alternated so that every other one was a black background with white and then a white background with black. So it wasn't too heavy going around, it alternated, if that makes sense. So I did 2 of each pattern on there. I think that looks so cool. And then I pulled out these 3D flowers thinking that I would add those. I had that blue one on my desk that I was just testing for size, thought it looked good. And so I cut out one of the, there are actually 4 sizes in the 3D flowers. This is the second to smallest and smallest. And here I'm going to try a little trick that I learned from my friend Julie from the creative design team to use the end of my bone folder to kind of make these petals curl up. Isn't that cool? So easy, and it's like magic how the petals just curl up. So use the back of your Versamat, which is foam, or any foam piece that you have. I kind of curled the tips up first, and then I laid it down and I just kind of pressed in the middle, and it just curls up those leaves really nicely. So I did that to all 3 petals, and then I'm going to glue those onto my card. Again, we have the 2-tone cardstock. This is raspberry, and that flower in the middle that's a little bit lighter color pink is just the back side of the raspberry. So I just used one color here. I'm going to glue them together with more liquid adhesive. And while I decide what's going to go in the center of the flower, I thought I would do my sentiment. So I pulled out the May Stamp of the Month, which has some really great sentiments on it. And I ended up using this happy birthday, and then found these rhinestones from way deep in my stash. They were sort of yellowing, so I wanted to color it with black. I used my black alcohol marker. It didn't give it really great coverage because it's bumpy. And then I added some black stickles, which looks really good. That was just the ticket, and this looks really, really pretty. It'll dry nice and sparkly and covered up everything that I wanted to. So there's the finished card. I think it looks really, really fun. Perfect birthday card. So then I decided to pull out these beautiful butterfly dies. This is from the May special this month. It's called You Are Enough. This paper right here and these butterfly dies are part of the special, and they are just stunning. So I decided to do some Distress Oxide ink blending, and I wanted the colors to radiate from the center of that sunburst. So I started with chipped sapphire, and my ink was really running low, so I had trouble getting this going. But I wanted it to kind of radiate from that blue center. I decided to move on to the seedless preserves, which was much juicier. And the way I like to do my Distress Oxide ink blending is to first put the color down and not really blend them together, and just get them all down, and then keep going back and forth and slowly blend. So then I went back to the chipped sapphire and started blending it into the seedless preserves. I found that I could get more ink if I went to the corner of the pad, so I started getting a little bit better with the ink there. So did that, and then I'm going to go back again to seedless preserves and start blending it in a little bit more. And I'm just going to keep doing this until I get a blend that looks really nice. So it is a little bit harder to do the color radiating out in a circle like this. It's kind of easier to keep it in a straight line across the card or diagonally down the card. But this, I think, gave a really fun look to go with this die set. So here we go. You can see that that blend is starting to look really nice. And I'm going to end here with the chipped sapphire and really just kind of go around in a circle. I'm adding some water drops to add even more interest and, of course, get the oxidized look that the Distress Oxides are known for. I thought that looked really fun. But then when I put my navy blue sunray down, I just wasn't liking it. It was blending in more than I thought it might. So I was trying several different overlays. The white I liked, but I thought it was a little bit too much contrast. This holographic paper I thought was looking nice, but still a little bit too much contrast. So then I had an aha moment, and so I decided, you know what? What if I cut down the Distress Oxide panel itself and then pop it back up on itself? So that's what I decided to do. And so here I've got my die out. I'm going to run that through my die cut machine. I'm going to make sure it all comes out in one piece because I wanted to put the inside pieces down first. And so I put the glue on these inside pieces. It's still in the die upside down right here. And I'm putting glue just on the inside pieces, not on that outer frame. And then I'm going to put my cardstock right on top of that and then flip everything over, push everything down really well, make sure that it's going to stay on the cardstock when I pull that die up, and it worked out perfectly. And I think it would look really good just to leave it like this and cut the card down so that you've got the white sunken sunburst and outline. But I wanted to keep going with my original idea. So here what I'm doing is I'm putting two pieces of cardstock together, and then I'm going to run that through again, and these are going to be my dimension. I'm just going to put these down as the base underneath that Distress Oxide outline, and that's going to make it so that my Distress Oxide piece will sit up a little bit from the inlay pieces, so it's all one continuous pattern and piece, but you see that kind of raised look. This is sort of like the eclipse technique, if you've seen that with die cuts before. It's kind of a variation of that. So I thought I was going to use this purple holographic butterfly, but then I decided I'm going to go back to the gold. And I liked the gold with the middle layer, just like that. So every time I added different colors or patterns, what I liked with it changed. I wanted lots and lots of gold splatter here to go with the gold butterfly. And so I sprayed my gold shimmer brush all over. And it looks really, really pretty in person. It's really hard to appreciate the look on camera because you can't see all of that pattern. I glued the vellum piece down first, just in the middle. You'll see it here. It's kind of curling up as we speak. You can see it right there in the background curling up, and that's what happens when vellum gets wet. So the wet glue in the center was causing the vellum to start curling, but when you put this top layer down, it holds it all down, and look at how pretty that is. So, so cool. I had so much fun with this die, and we are going to do yet again one last card. I'm not showing the whole card this time, but I wanted to show you the glue because this ended up being my favorite way to put the glue down. I really like the Tombow glue because you can get it out in really small dots. I liked it even better than that super fine tip. So for this card, I put down a piece first that I had run through my embossing folder. It was actually a piece from my stash that I ran through a long time ago. Added some clear shimmer splatters, and then more butterflies with all 3 layers. So here's a look again at all of the cards we made today. I hope that this gave you some inspiration and ideas for this fun background die. And I hope that you will join the creative design team for the Love Your Stash Challenge, and be sure to check out the other design team members who are participating this month. I will link them down in the description below, as well as here is the playlist for all of the Love Your Stash videos so far. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.